I woke up choking on the taste of rust. The air was stale, like it hadn't moved in years. My wrists were bound with duct tape, and something was digging into my spineward. No, it was the floor, rotting, uneven, soaked through. I wasn't home. 2. It was so dark I couldn't tell if my eyes were open. I blinked again, but nothing changed. Then I heard a slow dripping sound, somewhere in the corner. No. Thicker, more deliberate. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked like broken glass. My lips were dry, cracked open. Something warm trickled down my chin. Blood. Mine. Had I screamed before? I couldn't remember. I started to crawl, knees scraping over dirt and splinters. My fingers brushed metal, a wall. Cold, solid, I followed it with my hands, desperate to find a corner, a crack, anything. Then I felt something carved into the wall. Letters, deep, jagged, desperate. Help, Mem. Below that, another message, barely scratched in. He lies. Don't trust the water. My breath caught in my throat. A noise close this time. The sound of chains sliding across concrete. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, dragging, and humming. A man's voice, off-key. I curled into myself. Heart pounding so loud it filled the room. The footsteps stopped at the door. He knocked once, then whispered, "You're awake." Good. They never last this long. I couldn't scream. Not because I didn't want to, but because something in me knew. If I made a sound, I'd never be found. Not here. Not in this place he called the harvest box. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time had no meaning in that darkness. Only the sound of dripping, and sometimes breathing. But it wasn't mine. It came from the far end of the box, slow. Wet, like lungs full of mud.
I whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. Then a whisper back, broken, hoarse, female. "He feeds us lies." I froze. She was real. And she'd been here longer than me.
I crawled toward the voice, each movement slow and painful. The wood beneath me creaked like bones under pressure. Closer now, I could smell her. Rot. Blood. And something else, chemicals. Bleach? Gasoline? 4. I tried to escape, she said. He promised he'd let me go. He gave me water, said it was safe. Her breathing hitched. But it made me forget. Names, faces, even my own. A hand touched mine. Cold, shaking, skin like paper. No matter what happens, don't drink it. Then silence. The next time I reached for her, she was gone. I screamed her name, but I didn't know it. So I screamed mine, over and over, trying to remember who I was. Nothing came, not even the echo. He took that too. Suddenly the lights flickered on. Dim, yellow, flickering like a dying firefly. For the first time, I saw the box clearly. Bloodstains, handprints, teeth marks on the walls. The door groaned open, just a crack. His voice came through, gentle like a lullaby. Time for a little walk. And behind him, I saw it. The leash. The leash was leather, cracked, stained dark. He tossed it at my feet and smiled through the crack in the door. "You walk or I drag," he said. No rage in his voice, just calm, like this was routine. I hesitated. He crouched lower, eyes gleaming. "You want to end up like the last one?" I didn't ask who that was. I already knew. The girl in the dark. I stood up, legs trembling. The collar clicked around my neck. Tight, uncomfortably warm. He pulled and I stumbled forward into the light. It burned my eyes. Outside the box was a hallway concrete walls. Bloodstains, a buzzing overhead light that swung slightly, like someone had recently bumped it, or hanged from it. He led me past doors. Each had names scratched into them. Not real names. Things like hope, faith, mother. Some were crossed out. Some had tally marks. I'm helping them. He said, "They're too broken for the world out there." He looked back at me and smiled. "You'll thank me." One day, I kept quiet. I needed him to believe I was broken too. We reached a room at the end of the hall. It looked like a child's playroom, pink walls, stuffed animals, soft music, but the smell betrayed it. Rot. Despair. He shoved me inside and locked the door. A voice came through a hidden speaker. "You were always here. You just forgot." And on the wall, written in crayon, "Day 1, new girl." The walls were covered in drawings, crayons, markers, something that might have been blood. Smiling faces with hollow eyes, stick figures standing over graves. One had my face. I don't know how, but it did. In the corner, a TV flickered to life. Old footage. Grainy. A child, strapped to a chair, singing softly. The lyrics made no sense, until I realized she was spelling my name, backward. The door behind me vanished, comma, literally dash gone, comma, just a smooth wall now, pink and pulsing. The air thickened, buzzing. The teddy bears on the shelf had no eyes. Then, something moved in the reflection of the TV screen. Not me, something standing behind me, tall, thin, twitching like it was glitching through reality. Its fingers tapped my shoulder. I didn't turn. I blinked, and the world shifted. Now I was in a field, sunny, bright. Children laughed in the distance, but their faces were wrong, too wide, too still like masks. The ground beneath me felt soft, squishy. I looked down. Toys, bones, teeth buried just under the grass. And then I heard it again. That humming. Closer now. A shadow fell across the field. The sun dimmed like it was afraid. And there he was. Same man, same voice, but now he wore my father's face. Smiling, mocking. "You always come back here," he whispered. "No matter how many times we burn it down." Then he handed me something. A charred photograph, me, him, and the box. Behind us. I stared at the photograph for what felt like hours. My hands were shaking. The edges of the picture burned my skin. It couldn't be real. But there I was smiling, next to him, in front of the box. My childhood home blurred into view. Same peeling wallpaper. Same creaking floorboards, except the paintings blinked when I looked away. And something was watching me from inside the mirror. I walked toward the hallway. Each step echoed like I was descending into something older than the house. The photos on the wall aged rapidly as I passed. People turning to corpses in fast motion. At the end of the hallway was a door I didn't recognize. Covered in padlocks on it, carved in dozens of hands. "Do not open, even if she cries." Then I heard her crying. I knew that voice. High, fragile, shattered, my little sister. But she died in a fire when I was 12. They never found her body. Only her locket melted shut. The crying turned to laughter, comma, twisted, comma, echoing, comma, and the door began to bleed. Thick black sludge oozed from the keyholes. Behind me, the walls whispered in unison. Let her in. I turned from the bleeding door, heart pounding like a war drum. The house was shifting again. The hallway stretched longer, the walls breathing, literally expanding and collapsing like lungs. Something behind them. Alive. Suddenly I saw her. My sister, standing barefoot in the middle of the kitchen, wearing the same dress she dyed in melted fabric fused to her skin. Her eyes were pure white. She smiled at me. But it wasn't love. It was hunger. "Why didn't you save me?" she asked, voice echoing from every wall. I screamed your name until my throat burned. I reached for her, but my arm stopped halfway. Frozen midder, paralyzed, she walked closer, twitching like a broken puppet, head tilting too far sideways. "You watched me burn," she whispered. Then everything turned black again. But this time, I wasn't alone. I could hear them breathing, dozens of them, surrounding me in the dark. Their breath was cold, their hands colder. A light blinked on above me. I was back in the box, but the walls had changed. Now they were covered in mirrors, and every reflection was me, screaming. Each reflection moved a little offbeat. I blinked, and one of them didn't. It just stood there, grinning, mouth wide open. Too wide. Then it slammed its hands against the mirror. Cracks spread like spider legs. The cracks bled, dark red, pulsing with each heartbeat. My heartbeat. The room began to shake. The mirrors chattered like teeth in the cold, and one by one they started to shatter. Behind every broken mirror, there was a version of me, dead, twisted, burned, hung, buried, drowned, each more horrifying than the last. One reached through the glass, grabbed my shirt, pulled me forward until our foreheads touched. "I'm the only true one," it whispered. "You're the copy. You're the lie." The floor vanished beneath my feet. I fell through static TV snow, screaming voices, flashing memories. A birthday cake, a hospital room, a funeral. Mine? I landed hard, concrete, cold. The box again reset, but now there was something carved into my chest. Deep letters I didn't recognize, and they were still bleeding. I stared at the carvings on my chest. They pulsed like veins, glowing faintly under my skin. They weren't letters, they were numbers, coordinates, a place I'd never been, or maybe a place I'd forgotten. Suddenly, a speaker crackled to life above me. Static, then a distorted voice. "My favorite number is 13, it said. "But you are always a 7. Then laughter, not from the speaker, from inside my own head. The walls began to close in. Slowly, methodically, like the room was tired of waiting. I screamed, kicked, clawed, but the walls were made of memories. Every touch brought a vision. I saw my mother crying over an empty crib, my father shouting at shadows, a doctor nodding grimly. "You said he was gone," someone whispered. "He was," another replied, until the box called him back. The ceiling flickered with images, MRI scans, childhood drawings, pages from a burned notebook. They all had one word scrawled in the margins. Reset. Over and over. Hundreds of times. A door appeared. Not real, drawn in chalk. But when I touched the handle, it burned like iron. I turned it anyway. Pain exploded up my arm, but the door opened, and behind it, myself. Not a reflection, not a dream. Another me, taller, paler, eyes like black holes, and a smile that didn't end. He stepped forward, whispering, "I'm what you become. When you stop pretending this isn't real." He didn't blink, not once, just stared into me, like he was scanning every lie I ever told myself. He tilted his head and said, "You really think this ends with escape?" Then he laughed, like it was already too late. He reached forward and touched my forehead. In that instant, I saw everything. Not visions, real memories. Some mine, some his. Some Not human. Things no one should ever remember. I saw the box being built, not with wood and nails, but with grief, guilt, each wall made from moments someone wanted to forget. And I saw him, the real him, feeding it. Suddenly, the chalk door slammed shut behind me. The air turned cold and wet, like breathing inside a grave. We weren't in the room anymore. We were nowhere. Just a black void, with voices. They whispered in every direction. Old prayers, songs without melodies. My name. Over and over, each time said differently, like hundreds of people who used to know me, before I forgot them. Then he said something I'll never unhear. This box doesn't trap you. It reveals you. And behind him, I saw it again. The mirror. But this time, it showed what was left of my soul. The mirror rippled, not like glass like water holding in screens. I stepped closer. Inside it, I saw a room, a hospital, monitors flatlining, a bed with someone who looked exactly like me, tubes in every vein, skin pale, eyes wide open unblinking, UNSEEING.com on the wall, my name, and under it, persistent vegetative state, day 398. I reached out, touched the mirror. Cold. The other me turned his head, slowly, smiled, and mouthed, "Wake up. If you dare." The mirror cracked, then shattered, pulling me through like a vacuum. Suddenly I was in the hospital. Machines screaming, nurses shouting, someone sobbing in the hallway. My mother, older, wrinkled hands covering her face, whispering my name like a prayer. I wanted to hold her, tell her I'm here, but I had no body, just presence. Then I heard his voice again. But which one is real? I turned. He was sitting in my hospital bed, now alive, laughing. And the monitors began to beep again. Faster, louder, like something was returning. The heart monitor spiked into a screech. He sat up in my hospital bed, grinning like a child who'd stolen something. Doctors rushed in, but none of them saw me. They only saw him, wearing my face. "I'm doing better," he told them. "I feel like myself again." And they believed him. Laughed, cried. My mother hugged him, never noticing the eyes weren't mine. I screamed, but no sound came. I slammed invisible fists against the glass of reality. Nothing. He looked right at me and winked. "You slept too long," he whispered. "So I took your turn." Then everything froze. Even time. People locked in place like broken statues. Only he could move, and me, floating above, fading, losing grip on everything I was. He walked out of the hospital, my body moving with perfect precision. He breathed my air, spoke my name, and with every step he took, I felt something rip inside me, like reality forgetting me on purpose. I was back in the box, not by choice, dragged, thrown, alone. And this time, the box knew me. It pulsed like a heart, whispering, "You're not the first to lose yourself here." The box was darker now, not just absence of light, but presence of something else, something old, something that remembered me before I was born. It whispered not in words, but in regrets. I reached for the wall, but it moved away from me like it was breathing backward. I wasn't inside the box anymore. I was the box. I felt every scratch, every scream, etched into my bones. Faces appeared in the dark, brief flashes of the others who came before. Some were children, some were ancient, all of them broken, all of them still whispering, "You stayed too long." Suddenly, hands grabbed me from beneath hundreds, maybe thousands, dragging me downward through the floor. I didn't resist. What was there left to fight for? I no longer knew who I was. We sank into something thick and warm. Not liquid, not solid, memories. Every one not mine, but still familiar. Like dreams I'd forgotten on purpose. One voice rose above the rest. A child's voice. "My name is Evan," it said. I was the first. I built the box to hold the pain. Then softer. It never worked. Evan's voice echoed inside my skull. Not around me, inside me. Like he lived in the walls of my mind. "I didn't want to trap anyone," he said. "But pain spreads." And I understood. The box was never a prison. It was a virus, emotional, spiritual, contagious. Everyone who touched it left a part of themselves inside. And it grew. Fed on sorrow. Multiplied with silence. I tried to scream his name, Evan, but the box twisted my voice. It came out backwards. Like it didn't want me to connect, DIDN single quotes, T want me to remember. Because remembering is how you wake up. Suddenly I was standing in front of a black door, smooth, silent. Breathing like lungs underwater. And across it in white chalk, one word. Choose. No context. No hint. Behind me, the voices screamed, pleading, warning, Some told me to run. Others told me to open it. But one voice, mine, whispered, "Whatever's behind it is you." I reached for the handle. Cold. It pulsed under my fingers. Then a final whisper from Evan. "If you open it, you can't come back. But if you don't, you were never really here at all." I opened the door, not with my hand, with my will. It responded like it had waited forever. No sound, no creak, just blackness. Swallowing light. I stepped in, felt nothing, no ground, no air, just the sense of falling without moving. Time unraveled, and memory began to melt. Scenes flashed in front of me like film on fire. My first birthday, my last kiss, the moment I said I didn't care anymore. That one burned the longest. Pain leaves the deepest imprint. I saw Evan again. Only this time he wasn't a boy. He was ancient, eyes like dying stars, skin made of flickering static. He smiled, and then he opened his chest. Inside was a second box, smaller, beating like a heart, made of bone and string and memory. "It's yours," he said. "You brought it with you." And I remembered he was right. This wasn't his box. It was mine. Built from every moment I refused to feel, every truth I buried, every scream I silenced. I didn't find the box. I made it. To escape myself. The second box pulsed in my hands. It was warm, alive, it felt familiar. Not like holding an object. Like holding guilt. Pure, crystallized guilt. "You locked it away," Evan whispered. "Long before you found this place. The box didn't find you. It answered you. You begged for it. In silence, in shame. I tried to drop it, but it clung to me, fused with my skin, sank into my chest. I screamed, but it was a scream I had swallowed years ago. Now it wanted out. My body twisted, not in pain, in truth. Bones cracking into new shapes, memories pouring out of my skin like ink. All the things I'd buried were no longer willing to stay dead. I saw her again. My sister. Only now she was me. The blame I pushed away. The guilt I numbed. It lived in her eyes, and she whispered, "Feel it." I dropped to my knees. The darkness didn't crush me. It completed me. Not death, not madness, but acceptance. The box didn't want to punish me. It wanted me to remember. A voice rose above the chaos, not Evan, not the shadows. My voice, but stronger, colder, like a version of me that never broke. "You've worn masks your whole life," it said. "Son, brother, victim, survivor, liar. And each word peeled something off my skin. A memory. A layer of self-deception. The space around me shifted. Now I was standing in a hallway familiar, my childhood home. But everything was wrong. The lights flickered, the floor breathed, and the door at the end was open. I walked toward it. Step by step, each footfall felt heavier, like I was walking through time itself. And from the room ahead came sobbing, raw, unfiltered, me. At age 10, I pushed the door open, saw myself curled in the corner, arms around knees, whispering, "I'm sorry," on loop. I remembered this moment, but I'd buried it, locked it away with everything else in. The box. The boy looked up, eyes red, face pale, and he said the words that shattered everything. "Are you finally ready to feel it? Or will you keep hiding, even from yourself?" I dropped to my knees beside the boy. He didn't flinch, didn't move, just kept whispering, "I'm sorry." I wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault, but I couldn't lie anymore. It was. He looked up with eyes full of storms. "I didn't mean to hurt her," he said. I remembered now. The accident, the scream, the blood, and how I told myself it never happened. The box didn't trap me here. It brought me back to this, to truth, to the moment I chose forgetting over healing. And now the memory wanted justice, not punishment, just honesty. I reached for him, and when my hand touched his, the room collapsed inward. Not violently, but like it had finally done its job. No more illusion, no more hiding. We stood in an empty white space, just me, and the child I used to be. And he said, "If you walk out now, you'll remember everything." I nodded, and whispered, "I have to." The box reappeared, but it looked different now. Not dark, not cold, just open. Waiting, not to trap, but to release. I stepped toward the box one last time. It didn't pulse, didn't whisper. It just waited, like a door that always knew I'd return, not to be trapped, but to be remade. The boy myself stood beside me. He smiled for the first time. Not a child's smile, but something older, wiser, like he'd been waiting for this moment since it all began. "I'm ready," I said aloud, not just to the box, to everything, the guilt, the truth, the memory of what I did and who I became because of it. The box split open, not with force, but like it had simply accepted my answer. Inside, light, but not gentle, blinding, like looking straight into forgiveness. It swallowed me whole, no pain, just overwhelming presence. I didn't disappear. I integrated. Every broken part of me snapped back into place. And then I opened my eyes. In a hospital bed, beeping, voices, my mother crying happy tears. A nurse shouting, "He's awake." After all this time, he's awake. The world felt off. Colors too sharp. Sounds too clean, like someone turned reality up past safe levels. My body moved, but my mind lagged behind, like it wasn't fully mine anymore. Doctors asked questions I answered, mechanically, like reading from a script I didn't write. My mother held my hand, but her eyes searched for someone she wasn't sure had truly returned. At night, I stared into the mirror. I saw my face, but something watched from behind my eyes, calm. Comma. Still, like the box left a witness inside me. Quiet, but very awake. They said it was a miracle. They said I beat the odds, but they didn't know what I'd seen, what I'd become. I wasn't just back, I was altered, sharper, deeper, wider. I heard voices sometimes, not loud, just gentle murmurs at the edge of sleep, reminding me, The box never closes. It just waits. And part of me was glad, because for the first time, I wasn't afraid of it. The dark, the guilt, the truth, they were all part of me now, and I had one more thing left to do. Go back in. I waited until midnight, everyone asleep, silence thick like syrup. I walked barefoot to the hallway mirror, the same one, where I first saw him, or maybe me. The glass didn't ripple this time. It bent inward like an invitation. No fear, no hesitation. Only one thought pulsed through my veins. You can't fix the world, but you can face it. I reached out, felt warmth, then pressure like hands pulling, but not to harm, to welcome, like the box remembered me, still recognized its maker. This time I smiled, because I wasn't going back in to run. I was going in to guide, to help the next soul lost in the dark, to show them pain doesn't have to be prison. It can be passage. As I stepped through, the mirror resealed behind me, not like glass, like skin healing. The world outside moved on, but I walked deeper, toward the others waiting in silence. Their voices whispered, "Is it safe now?" And I answered, "No, but it's real." And that's enough. Then I sat, opened my own chest and built a new box, not to contain pain, but to hold stories, memories, truths too heavy to carry alone. Because the darkest places aren't meant to be prisons, they're meant to become home.